What's good, sports world? Welcome to Believe in Bills podcast. I'm your host, Muki Hawkins, sports director here at Waffle 1080 AM and Power 96.5. I'm bringing to you my first Bills mock draft 1.0. Now, the Bills do have 9 selections in this year's draft, and the Bills will continue to look for size and speed to stay pace of the AFC. Now, for the second straight year in a row, the Bills bite the dust on the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs. And, the Bills' defense couldn't stop Travis Kelce and, Tyreek Hill in the clutch. So what do the Bills need to do to get over the hump from selecting out of this year's draft? Now, we do know free agency is March 14th. Let's not forget. So this will be one of the many mock drafts I will be presenting leading up to April's 28th draft. So, without any further ado, let's get into it, okay? The Bills select 25th in this year's first round. So what do the Bills need to look for as far as a positional need? Okay, with the injury to Tre'Davious White, Levi Wallace did play solid, but he was kind of picked on, if you ask me, giving up 58% of targets allowed. And to me, in my eyes, that's a big issue, okay? You mean to tell me that a team could, throw out a guy on third down and I have a chance of 58% chance of, our guy catching it. So that is a big problem, even though Levi Wallace did play solid, but to me, it just wasn't good enough. He just didn't make enough plays in the clutch when needed. So he will test free agency this year, and his market value is anywhere between $5 to $7 million. I'm not sure if the Bills would, maneuver funds to, try to bring Levi Wallace back. I think it's probably more cheaper to look towards the draft, where you can get a guy that pretty much fits the mold of size, speed, and physicality. And I think that Levi Wallace was, lacking in some of those areas, especially in the physicality point. Now, he is rangy. He does have the length, but, he just didn't lack, he kind of lacked that physicality, and he lacked speed. Running 4.6, 4.7, 40, that definitely showed when he was up against the Cheetah, late in the game in the divisional playoffs. So what do the Bills do at a positional need at cornerback? So a guy that, I like is Kaiir Elam out of Florida, 6'2", 200-pound cornerback. He has the size and he has the length to play zone or man, depending the situation. He's very physical with great ball skills. Now, Elam was once a former wide receiver in a la of another guy who fitted that mold in Richard Sherman, and we all know how that panned out for him, moving and transitioning on to the NFL in that mode. Now, he does have a big catch radius, plus fluid hips to mirror wideouts, which is a good thing, and I think that he would be a great replacement for Levi Wallace, once again, who will test free agency. And Elam definitely runs anywhere between a 4.4, 4.7 and a sub 4.51 package. So now other options that the Bills can explore with the 25th overall pick. Now, we do understand that Emmanuel Sanders is contemplating retirement. If he were to run it back, he said he would do it with the Bills. Now, do the Bills have, mutual interest in that regard of Emmanuel Sanders being 35 and, they paid him, $6 to $7 million this year on a 1-year deal? What do you do with Cole Beasley? He has 1 year remaining under contract. The bill will save $6 million if they were to release Cole Beasley, especially when you look at the type of game that Gabriel Davis had in that divisional playoff with Stephon Diggs being doubled majority of the time. He definitely could fit that mold. But after that, what do the Bills do as far as in their receiving core? How do you, re-bolster that receiving core? So, it's going to be something lacking if you miss out on a Cole Beasley. You got Isaiah McKenzie who's testing the free agency market. Do you bring him back? Do you have the necessary money to bring him back? Obviously, Isaiah McKenzie was the fastest guy on your team, but, he wasn't really used as he, as much within that offensive scheme. So do he feel a certain kind of way and test the market, or do the Bills present, some sort of, contract where, he will be good enough to stay? I know he said he would play for Candy, but this is another year. So another option that the Bills can explore is the receiver market if one is best available. If a guy like Jamison Williams becomes available at pick 25, now I know he's dealing with the injury, but you're looking for a guy that could pretty much stretch defenses to take the pressure off of doubling the Stephon Diggs. And obviously what Gabriel Davis did in that last game is definitely going to be a microscope on him as well. So to add fuel for the fire, and you got to fight fire with fire. Okay, so I think the Bills, can entertain drafting another receiver at pick 25, and I wouldn't mind if the Bills would take Jamison Wills, 6'2", 200-pound receiver out of Alabama who runs a 4.3 40. Now, moving on in the second round, what do the Bills do as far as the defensive front? Everybody is saying we need to get an edge rusher. We're not getting to the quarterback. Well, I think it's time that the Bills take the training wheels off of Greg Rousseau and A.J. Espinoza. They done drafted on the defensive front in back-to-back years. They even went out and got Boogie Basham last year and second-round pick. You got Ed Oliver, who had a great year last year. Hopefully he can build off of that this year. Not sure if the Bills are going to bring back Harrison Phillips, who played well in the contract year. Starla Tulele, he has 1 year remaining. So I think the Bills probably would address more of an interior guy rather than an edge rusher, because we have that, within, Greg Rousseau and A.J. Espinoza. Now, they could entertain bringing back Shaq Lawson, a savvy veteran who's well familiar with Coach Frazier's scheme at a cheaper price. I wouldn't mind bringing Shaq Lawson back because he does bring that energy to bolster that rotation in reference to the guys coming off the edge. And he also did well with setting the edge when it comes down to run game as well. So I wouldn't mind bringing Shaq Lawson back, but what do you do inside the interior? So a guy that, comes to mind, another guy from Alabama, Fedarian Mathis. Bills look to add younger and stronger pieces up front to add to Oliver. And Mathis is a guy who's very versatile and he can play multiple techniques on that defensive line. Now, another option that the Bills could explore with the second-round pick, linebacker. What do you do at linebacker? Tremaine Edmonds, Matt Milano, A.J. Klein. He's the third back, but you're going to pay him $8 million to back up those two guys. I think the Bills can free some money up if they were to release A.J. Klein or extend him, lower that cap number, and maybe that could work out that way. But there is some nice linebackers that could be available that I know for a fact that would be available. Another guy that comes to mind is Brandon Williams from out of Penn State. When you look at what Penn State has been producing over the past couple of years, just look at what Micah Parsons was able to do in coming out of Penn State last year. 6'3", 245 pounds, runs a 4.4 40. Okay, ended up being in the rookie defensive of the year for the Dallas Cowboys. Look at Jason Uwe, first-round pick, went to the Baltimore Ravens, 6'5", 260 pounds, run a 4.3 for crying out loud. So when you look at Brandon Williams, 6'4", 245 pounds, 4.4 40. He also can cover running backs, and he's just flying around, can go side to sideline in a heartbeat. Definitely could re-bolster that linebacking core. You don't know what you're going to do with Tremaine Edmonds. The Bills did exercise his fifth-year option. Do they play the franchise tag with him the year after, or do they sign Tremaine Edmonds long-term? But in the meantime, in between time, you have a quality depth piece that could potentially replace Tremaine Edmonds, which I don't think that's going to happen. Or, once again, he can add to that quality depth piece element in the event of any one of those linebackers to go down due to injury. So, moving forward in the third round, I think if you don't go out and get that wide receiver in the first two rounds, you can still get a guy in those meat and potato rounds. And another guy that comes to mind is Jalen Torbert from out of South Alabama. 6'3", 195 pounds. This big, deep threat has been lacking, out of the Bills receiving core. Once again, a big, deep threat with the speed to match. Now, Gabe Davis definitely proved that he can be that guy, but I think he's kind of lacking in that speed element to blow the top off of defense. He can get separation. He is a physical guy in the mode of Eric Modes, who, was one of the greatest receivers in Bills history. He fits that mold. But a guy that can blow the top off the defense to take the pressure off of Stephon Diggs, that allow him to get free underneath. Jalen Torbert can do that, especially with Cole Beasley being on the wrong side of 30. Not sure, once again, if Isaiah McKinley is willing to run it back for Candy again. The Bills grab a potential steal in the third round that can stretch the defense, and make you pay for doubling Stephon Diggs in that regard. Now, Tolbert averaged over 18 yards per catch his senior season, and some say he's a natural fit for slot. So another guy that the Bills could possibly entertain at in the third round what are you going to do up front on the offensive line? There is some, issues with the guard position. You got two great bookends with Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins, but what are you going to do in the guard mainframe? Daryl Johnson, he's set to make just about $10 million. I think that's pretty much overpriced for a guard at this point. John Feliciano has been battling injuries every single year. Ryan Bates, Uncle Rick, played well in spot duty. Ike Boddicker, he ended up tearing his Achilles late in the season. So what do you do there on the interior? So the Bills have to look in reference to exploring options. Third round, you got a good guy in Dylan Farnham from out of Memphis. I think will be a solid fit in the third round if the Bills are to go that route in reference to upgrading and looking for more interior guys up front on that offensive line. Moving on in the fourth round. What are the Bills are going to do as far as the running back position? They finally started giving Devin Singletary the rock late, and he proved to be that bell cow that the Bills can need. They started playing a little bit more power gap scheme, something that Devin was accustomed to his rookie year, and giving him an opportunity to be more of himself. They played more to his strengths than to the zone scheme that they altered due to the fact that the Bills were going a different direction in the passing game. So, he did have a career year, almost broke 1,000 yards, but he did surpass his career high, this season, with 870 yards. So what do the Bills do to help build that? Zach Moss, more or less of a sophomore slump, if you will. It wasn't, quite, I don't know. I'm not sure, how to evaluate Zach Moss this year. Battling the injury portion, the competition portion, and just struggling to, be patient and read, within the speed of the game as far as the NFL goes. I think that he's more of a downhill style of back. I think that he would, definitely fit the mold of what the Bills were doing in the run game as of late. But guess what? It's a new offensive coordinator in Ken Dorsey, and we're not sure what he likes as far as a running back. So here you go. Fourth round pick, Rashard White from out of Arizona State, 6'2", 210. You get a bigger guy, all right? You need a bigger guy, more physical guy. Now, very impressive, again, for a guy his size. He runs with vision. He runs with patience, which is needed to be a running back in the NFL, obviously. Now, he can be used in a zone run scheme or a power gap as well, and he has the potential to be an every down back. Okay, he's rushed over 1,000 yards and caught 43 passes for 450 yards, his senior year. Now, the Bills do love a competitive roster, and with this pick, the running back room definitely gets interesting. Another option that you can pick up is available will be another running back from out of Alabama, Brian Robinson. Definitely, he's another every down back as well. So I think somewhere in that third, fourth, fifth round, the Bills will start looking to address, running back, if you will. If they're comfortable with what they got, if they're not looking to reach out in free agency, possibly can grab a Leonard Fournette type of specimen, then, they have to look in the draft and pull one out there. And there's more than enough in the later the meat and potato rounds that the Bills could grab that could be an impact on this roster. So, moving on to the fifth round, what do the Bills do at pick 132? Now, I always like to predict these trades because the Bills do have 9 picks and have draft assets. And I know Brandon Beane likes to, move up, to go and get their style of guy. I think fifth round is a little bit more safe. You don't give up too much, when trading up in the fifth round. So I think the Bills would trade originally their 166th pick in the 6th round and their 201st pick in the 7th round. And, maybe they might grab a conditional pick in the 2023 to acquire the Giants' 5th round pick at 132 and Darian Beavers, 6'4", 255-pound linebacker, from out of Cincinnati. Now, Beavers is a monster. He's big, long, and will chase the ball. He can also cover tight ends and running backs. Okay, and nevertheless, at 6'4", 255 pounds, he can rush the passer. With over 100 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, and 5 sacks with 2 interceptions. At 5th round, this will be a virtual steal for the big Bills at this time, with the Cincinnati Bearcats definitely had one of the top defensive units in the nation last year. And, definitely Darian Beavers was a catalyst in that group. So to grab a guy of that stature in the 5th round is a definitely steal and something worth that the Bills can trade up for in the later rounds. Another option that the Bills can explore, out of that linebacker group, once again, will be Damon Clark out of LSU. It just seems like that what LSU does defensively pretty much, is a scheme fit for what the Bills do, in the NFL. So bringing Damon Clark in, he has the speed, he has the IQ to play on the inside. Once again, we're not sure what the Bills are going to do after this season with Tremaine Edmonds. I think the Bills are going to, pretty much either franchise tag him or find some monies to where they extend him. But we all know the nature of the business in the NFL, so you got to have those quality depth pieces just in case, all right? So with that being said, the Bills are moving up to acquire a pick in the 5th round. How about their original pick in the 5th round? They double up in 153. Go grab a punter, okay? Go get a punter. If we're in games, if we're not punting the ball, why bring Matthew Hack back? We're paying him $100.25 million next year. You can use that somewhere else. You can go draft you a punter, and for that 125, you can have that punter on your team for next 2-3 years under a rookie deal, especially if we're not punting the ball in certain games, okay? But you still have to cover your tracks. Mac Hawk had an up and down season. They can add some uncertainty if they release him. Once again, they do save $1.2 million. You bringing in a guy like Matt Araiza. Okay, he was the Ray Guy Award winner, basically the best punter in college football. Now, this would clearly mean the writing is on the wall, and with this pick, the Bills lock in perhaps the best special teams unit in the NFL, with obviously bringing in Tyler Bass from Georgia Southern 2 years ago. Another option that the Bills could explore once again on the interior front of the offensive line, Justin Schaefer from out of Georgia, 6'3", 340 pounds, who is a mauler up front. Let's move on to the 6th round. What do the Bills do there? You still want to get quality depth pieces. Not sure what the Bills are going to do with even Mitch Morris, for crying out loud. Mitch Morris had a solid season, but Mitch Morris is set to make $11 million again this year. He's already restructured his deal, to create funds for the Bills to go ahead and get more players in free agency. Do he do it again, or do the Bills once again extend him, or put that in a signing bonus to create space where the Bills can maneuver? I'm not sure how Brandon Beane is going to shake up this roster, but if they do up front, you bring in a guy like Aaron Stuber, offensive lineman. He's 6'7", 335 pounds. He's big and tough, and he's very versatile. He can play center, he can play guard, or he can play tackle. Now, this is the type of versatility that the Bills covered up front. Once again, on the offensive line, Mitch Morris is set to make over $11 million. He could be asked to restructure or release, but this is a solid pick in the later rounds, okay? Another option that the Bills can explore is my guy, Charlie Kolar, tight end from out of Iowa State. We got to bring in another tight end to pair off with Dawson Knox, and I think Iowa State do a great job with their tight ends. I've been watching this guy Kolar for quite a while, and in the 6th round, this guy could be available to help block. He brings that blocking element. We know Tyler, our guy Sweeney, Tommy Two-Tap, he'll be back. He'll be healthy after battling, his bout with COVID up and down during the course of last season. But you bring a guy in, Charlie Kolar, who is solid in the blocking game and definitely will help the run game a great deal. So, that's another option that the Bills can explore in the 6th round. Moving on to this final pick, okay, in the 7th round, at pick 16. The Bills double up on the back end and grab Isaac Taylor Stewart, cornerback from out of USC, 6'2", 200 pounds. Now, I know everybody's saying, hey, Muki, hey, I like the guys with the size and the speed, okay? And it's something that Coach McDermott mimicked last year, going into, this season that just passed, that size, speed, physicality. You got to have these big corners now because these receivers are 6'4", 6'5", and they can fly. So, smaller guys that's 5'10", 5'11", really is not going to stand a chance of having a bigger catch radius than a Michael Evans type or a Mike Williams type of guy. Okay, so that's why I like the big rangy corner that brings the physicality element and also the speed. Now, once again, Bills go for size and most importantly speed with this pick. My guy ITS runs between a 4.2 and a 4.3. Now, there are some technical issues, and obviously, of a guy that stature, that big and fast, him being available in the 7th round, that's the reason why. But Bills do a great job of drafting, and one thing they do a great job of is developing their players, okay? But one thing you can't teach is speed. So, he's very aggressive when using his body, and that's something that the Bills definitely need, up front. So, with that being said, the Bills get the size, they get the speed, they get the physicality they need in the draft with this first, mock draft 1.0. It will be pretty interesting, how this is going to shake up and ultimately change. Now, this mock is definitely going to change once the combine takes place, and that combine is going to take place March 1st up in Indianapolis. I will be there on hand to get some great insight to figure out what draft prospects is catching the Buffalo Bills' eyes and what's going to shake out in free agency. Now, up there in Indy, everybody's going to be pretty much talking about where they're going in free agency market. Are they going to release specific players? What players are they targeting in free agency? Because once again, free agency starts in 2 weeks. Okay, so it's going to be a lot of talk up in Indy on, where teams are going to go. So I'm definitely going to keep my ear to the ground and, ask a lot of questions with all the Buffalo Bills representation that's going to be out down there in Indy. So, I like everybody for, tuning in and checking things out with me. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as on Spotify. Believe in Bills podcast in conjunction with 1080 AM and Power 96.5. All right, so there you have it, folks. That's my Buffalo Bills mock draft 1.0. Hope you enjoyed it. Be safe. Be happy. We'll see you soon. Coming soon, Believe in Bills podcast will be giving you a complete Bills analysis with current and former Bills players. Join me, Muki Hawkins, Waffle 1080 AM Sports Director, as your new host on the new Believe in Bills podcast network. Be on the lookout for new shows coming this spring. Please like, share, and subscribe on all social media outlets, YouTube, and Spotify. Go Bills!